March 14th, 2019 began like any other Thursday in Springfield, Illinois, but for Melissa Hayes it was special. She had just turned 27, and her closest friends were determined to make it a night to remember. Melissa was warm, magnetic, and the kind of person who made everyone feel like family. That evening, her two-story suburban home glowed with decorations, gold balloons tied to banister, streamers across the living room, and a birthday cake waiting on the counter. The guest list was small, intimate. 8 people total, including Melissa. No one could have imagined that before the night ended, 7 of them would be dead. The guests trickled in around 8 p.m. Among them, Daniel Ruiz, 29, Melissa's co-worker, quiet but dependable. Kara Thompson, Melissa's childhood best friend. Tom and Sarah Jensen, a married couple Melissa knew from college. Lydia Chun, a nurse from her gym. Marcus Lee, Melissa's neighbor. The group shared drinks, played board games, and took photos that would later become evidence. For hours, it was laughter, inside jokes, and the kind of warmth only found in close-knit circles. But as the night wore on, tensions lurked in the background. Melissa's ex-boyfriend, Ethan Cole, had been calling her phone all week. She ignored him, but his shadow lingered. Just after midnight, there was a knock at the door. Daniel recalled how Melissa's smile faltered. When she opened it, Ethan stood there. He wasn't holding a gift. He wasn't smiling. He wanted to talk. Guests later remembered the tense silence as Melissa led him outside. Raised voices followed. Ethan accused her of humiliating him, of moving on with her life. Melissa told him to leave. He did, or so they thought. At 12:30 a.m., Melissa cut her cake. Everyone clinked glasses, sang, and took selfies. They didn't know that several of those glasses contained traces of sedatives. Investigators would later determine that someone had spiked the drinks. Whether it was during the argument outside or while the group was distracted, no one noticed. By 1 a.m., some guests were woozy. Sarah Jensen complained she felt lightheaded. Marcus laughed it off as too much wine. The party began unraveling. At 1:17 a.m., the power went out. The house plunged into blackness. Daniel remembered fumbling for his phone flashlight, hearing Melissa's voice. "Stay calm. It's probably the breaker." But before anyone could move, chaos erupted. The sound of glass shattering. Footsteps rushing down the hall. A scream cut short. Someone was in the house. When police reconstructed the scene, they believed Ethan returned through the back door, armed with a kitchen knife. He struck quickly. In the living room, Kara Thompson was the first to die, stabbed before she could rise from the couch. Tom and Sarah Jensen were next. The sedatives slowed their reactions, leaving them vulnerable. Their bodies collapsed across the floor, blood soaking into the carpet. The crime scene photos showed wine glasses still tipped on the coffee table, as though the party had only just paused. Upstairs, Lydia Chin tried to call 911. Her phone was found beside her body, the screen still lit, digits half-dialed. She had been cornered in the hallway and attacked. Marcus Lee attempted to barricade himself in the bathroom. Investigators found him submerged in the tub, water stained red. The fire poker from the living room had been used as a weapon. The brutality shocked even seasoned detectives. This wasn't just murder. It was rage uncontained. Daniel Ruiz fought back. He wrestled with the attacker in the dark, suffering defensive wounds across his hands and arms. He didn't know if anyone else was alive. He only knew Melissa had screamed at him. "Run!" Daniel fled to a side door, stumbling into the night. He left behind his friends, believing Melissa had already been killed. Hours later, police found him wandering barefoot in the neighborhood, drenched in blood. His words were fractured. Wasn't supposed to happen like this. When officers entered the house at 5:42 a.m., the silence was deafening. 3 bodies in the living room, 2 upstairs, 1 in the bathtub, Melissa Hayes on the kitchen floor. Balloons still swayed from the ceiling fan. The birthday cake sat half-eaten on the counter, a knife beside it. Everything that symbolized joy had been desecrated. Investigators worked meticulously. Sedatives were found in several wine glasses. Fingerprints on the back door matched Ethan Cole. Blood spatter analysis confirmed multiple weapons had been used. A bloody handprint smeared on the kitchen window wasn't Daniel's. It belonged to Melissa. She had survived the initial attack. The trail of handprints told the story. Melissa had crawled toward the back door, fighting to escape. The prints continued into the yard, growing weaker, under a pile of leaves near the fence. Detectives discovered her body. She had made it outside, but collapsed before reaching safety. For Daniel, this was devastating. He believed Melissa had died in the kitchen. In truth, she was alive long enough to fight for her life. Ethan Cole vanished after the massacre. For 2 weeks, Springfield lived in fear. Police distributed his photo nationwide, labeling him armed and extremely dangerous. Tips flooded in. He was seen at gas stations, diners, and bus stations. Finally, he was caught hiding in a cabin in Michigan, his cousin's property. When arrested, Ethan was calm, almost smug. In interrogation, Ethan admitted everything. He said Melissa had betrayed him, that she embarrassed him by celebrating without him. He brought drugs to the party, intending to confront her and make her listen. But when her friends offended her, his anger spiraled. "I only wanted Melissa," he told detectives. The rest, they got away. His lack of remorse was chilling. The case, dubbed the Birthday Massacre by the press, drew national attention. Daniel Ruiz testified, his voice breaking as he described Melissa's final command for him to run. The prosecution presented forensic evidence: the sedatives, the bloody handprint, the fingerprints. The jury deliberated only 6 hours before finding Ethan guilty of 7 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life without parole. For Daniel, survival was its own punishment. Each March 14th, while others celebrated birthdays, he mourned. He carried scars on his hands, but the deeper wounds were unseen. Survivor's guilt haunted him. The belief that he abandoned Melissa when she needed him most. Springfield never forgot the tragedy. At the site of Melissa's home, neighbors placed flowers, candles, and photos. Balloons, always gold, were tied to the fence in her memory. The story of that night remains a haunting reminder: how quickly joy can turn to horror, and how one person's obsession can destroy so many lives. Subscribe for more chilling true crime stories. Like and drop your comment.